Hey y'all, I'm Carolina Tony. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Today I am going back to my childhood, to Bennettsville, South Carolina, town that I was born in and stayed the first 19 years of my life. I moved away in 1978, and though I passed through several times, never really went back to look around. And I'm going to go back today and take you with me, share with you some of my memories. Right after this station identification. This is the Marlboro County Courthouse. 4 courthouses have actually stood on this spot. The first being around 1820. But this particular courthouse was built between 1951 and 1952. The courthouse before it had big steps going up to the upper story. Now all these palmetto trees, this is something else new. They've been put here, as well as this fountain has been added since I left back in 1978. Every year when I was in grade school, around May the 10th, which is Memorial Day, all the children would bring flowers from home. Those children that were less fortunate and didn't have flowers, some of us brought extra flowers to give away. They'd be wrapped in wax paper and tin foil. We would march from the school down to this area, and it's not here now, and I may be wrong. That could be it there, but I'm not sure. But it seems like there was a monument here, and this is where we would come and place the flowers and have a brief ceremony and then march back to school. And it very well could have been this boulder. It's just moved to a more prominent location. It said it's dedicated to the memory of the men of Marlboro County who, as soldier patriots, served their country in the War of American Independence, erected by the PD chapter, the Daughters of American Revolution, in 1920. And I think this is perhaps it, but it seems like it was there. I'm not sure. Somebody correct me. This is another monument I do not remember, in memory of Captain William Palmer. There was an airfield that was on the outside of town, about 4 miles from here, on Highway 9, right next to where the prison is now. There was an airfield named after him, and he was a World War I hero, member of Rickenbacker's 94th Pursuit Squadron. On this corner, the corner of Main and Broad Street, this is where Bear Drug was. This was a type of drug store that you would see in some of your old 50s movies. Would be the cherry stained booths. On the tables would be glass jars that had paper straws in them, because this was back before they had plastic straws. And the old soda fountain with a marble top and a real live soda jerk in the back. Opposite of Bear Drug, on the opposite corner of Broad and Main, is where Rose's was, another dime store, and down on that far corner is where Belts was, on both floors. This is a monument that has been put here since I left. I left in 1978, and this is to the soldiers of all the wars, as well as Bennettsville's own Confederate monument. This monument was erected in 1907. Now, I had someone try to tell me that that was a Yankee soldier on the top, but I'm not sure. Of Marlborough's noble sons sacrificed their lives on the battlefields, in prison, and by disease. God's peace is everlasting. This was called the McCall Block, but when I was little, this was the Bennettsville department store. This is where you would come to get just about any type of clothing that you needed for you to go back to school. Of course, this was way before your big Walmarts and Crest stores and things like that. This is the place you would come to shop. Right across the street from it was a dime store, and then that white building is where Eagles 5 and Dime was. On Saturday mornings, right before I'd go to the movie, I would go inside, and for $1, you could purchase a bag of hot cashew nuts. Of course, it's changed a whole lot over the years, but there was a gas station there, and this was the old style gas station where they would come running out and wash your windows and check your oil and your water and your radiator and get gas for 25 cents. Of course, I think as cheap as I remember was 50 cents. This building now houses Marlboro Drug Company, but when I was just a little tiny fella, it was R.W. Walker. It was a tire and front end shop where you would take your car to have the front end lined, brakes put on, even tires. This end here on the corner, it was open, and you would actually drive up under it to have your car serviced. And it's where my father worked when I was real tiny. On this empty lot was site of the Powers Hotel. This was a very grand Victorian style hotel. It had a grand staircase, very beautiful, lot of detail to the architecture. And sometime in the 60s, it burned to the ground. Fire was so big it could be seen from 5 miles away. The 60s, crime was not what it is today. Didn't need a police force quite much like what you have now. This building here, this was the Bennettsville Police Department. Not very big. And right next to it was the old fire department. And now it appears to be the municipal court. This building now is Marlboro County Economic Development Building, but when I was a kid, this was the county library. This building is now Marlboro Civic Center. When I was a little kid, you could find me here on almost any Saturday. This was the Bennettsville Theater. And the architecture has been changed a little bit, but basically the building looks pretty much the same. I remember my very first movie was at a birthday party, and we saw Flipper. You remember the TV show about the dolphin? I remember it was 50 cents to get in. And this is the Murchison building. This is where I went from the 3rd grade to the 5th grade in this very school. And at the time, this is the public library. There was another brick building there that was the old high school, but it was also used as the elementary school back then as well. It's been torn down, rebuilt, but the Murchison building is still here. It's a very neat building. It looks pretty much like it did 55 years ago. It still has a school bell. Here is a story I will share with you from when I was in the 4th grade. Right down here. You see those bricks that's been replaced there? That's been done fairly recently, but when I was in the 4th grade, those were original bricks were just loose. And I reached down and pulled one out. And a friend of mine was in the 5th grade, was a safety patrol. He saw me, and the dude ratted on me to the principal, and I got my tail switched. I mean, and they said I was causing vandalism. They were already out. I just wiggled one. Come on, give me a break. But I probably shouldn't have done it anyway. On the back part of the school, this is where our auditorium was. And if my memory serves me right, every Friday, or maybe one Friday a month, I can't remember that well, but there would be a program that would be put on by a different class, and you would actually go inside and perform something. And it had its own little separate entrance. Sometimes parents would come. Here's the 5th grade memory I'll share with you. I had some Native American, or basically Indian feathers and outfit, and I was going to be in the play. And before the play went on, they wanted me to put lipstick on. I pitched a bloody fit, threw the headdress down on the floor, and told them I was going home. I wasn't wearing any lipstick. I really showed myself so much that my father had to come to school and straighten things out, which didn't turn out to be in my favor. Oh, it's cool. The original seats are still in there at the stage. And to this very day, I still don't like wearing lipstick. Now, if my memory serves me correct, the schools were here, and across the street was the cafeteria. Now, it's a funny thing about memories. And a lot of my memories revolve around food. And as you can tell by looking at me, I enjoy eating. But they used to have the best vegetable soup, pimento cheese sandwiches, and peanut butter sandwiches. Oh man, what I wouldn't give to have a bowl of that good old vegetable soup and a peanut butter sandwich again. After more than 50 years, this thing hasn't changed a bit. Other than it's not a school anymore. Now, this is where I went to the 1st and 2nd grade. This was the primary school. This classroom right there is where my 1st grade class was. And her name was Mrs. Lyles. I remember the first few days of school, smuggling a pocket knife to school so I could show off to my friends, look, I've got a pocket knife. Mrs. Lyles stabbed my pocket knife, took it away from me, but I got it back at the end of the school year. Just boys being boys. Over my shoulder was a city ice house. This is where you could come and buy blocks of ice or bags of ice, but also in the early 70s, when I was a teenager, we used to come buy beer and wine. Now back then, when you were 18, it was legal to drink beer and wine. You just couldn't drink hard liquor. until you were 21. We wasn't even 18. We'd always get some older kids to buy it for us. Boone's Farm. And I'll also tell you that most of the time when I did, it didn't turn out very well. Sitting right on the edge of town on Crooked Creek, every Friday and Saturday night, cars would be lined up, bumper to bumper, going around the building for no particular reason, to see who was parked. Cars would be parked all out here, and kids would be going around in a circle numerous times during the night just to see who was here hanging out. And if some of their friends were, they would hang out too. Though this doesn't look anything like it did back in the early 70s. The Dairy Dream was a place to be on a Friday or Saturday night. Well, you know, they say you can't go back, and you really can't, because things will never be the same. But we do have our memories. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed our short little visit back to my hometown, Bennettsville, South Carolina. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give me a big thumbs up. Be sure to share this video on your social media. Be sure to share with your family and friends. But until next time, y'all have a good day.